to Wind Down Wednesday. Here are your hosts, Jeffery Tobias Halter and Amanda Hammett.
This is Wind Down Wednesday, contemporary midweek discussion on current workplace and marketplace issues with a focus on diversity, inclusion, intersectionality, and equality. And always best enjoyed with your favorite wind down beverage of choice. I'm Jeffery Tobias Halter, and this is my friend and colleague, Amanda Hammett. Well, happy Wednesday. Can you believe it's hump day already? Is that even a relevant term? We're all working 24/7. This panel today is going to talk about parenting in a pre and post-pandemic world. And does Wednesday even matter anymore? Is it just another day in the week? So as always, I'm really excited to be here with my co-host, Amanda, and we've got two special guests. And so I'm actually going to let them introduce themselves and their background, and then we will talk about what our beverage of choice is before we jump into our subject. So Jessie, would you like to start, please?
Yes, of course, Jeff. Thank you for having me on the podcast. It's really great to be part of the panel to share my experience as a working parent. My name is Jessie Wei. I'm a senior manager working at EY's audit practice. I'm actually in transition, so I'm relocating to Charlotte, North Carolina next month. Actually, end of month, I will be moving to a new house. I'm a mother to two little boys. They are 6 and 8. My older son is Henry. My younger one is Preston. I'm having a struggle mom moment this week because my oldest just told me that I can no longer call him baby anymore. So I'm struggling as a mother emotionally that he's no longer a baby. And my beverage of choice today is just sparkling water.
Sparkling water, that's a good one down. All right, thanks. And Smriti.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for the opportunity. So my name is Smriti, which is pronounced exactly the way that it is written. And I'm actually Jessie's kind of sort of neighbor. I live in North Carolina as well. And I lead a team of content and editors over here at Red Hat, based in Raleigh. And it's been an interesting sort of time so far. I'm happy to talk all about it. I have two young children. The younger one is 2. She just turned 2, and the older one is 7. Lots of adventures during this pandemic time, and I'm sure I'm not the only one.
So thank you for that. And what's your beverage of choice this afternoon?
Yeah, so usually I love a good Pinot Noir from Oregon, but I just got back from a wine trip, so I'm all kind of tapped out. And today I'm going to kind of stay close to caffeine and have a steady drip of caffeine in my veins as I do this podcast.
That's awesome. Thanks.
I love that.
And I want to kick this to Amanda now. Amanda's usually the co-host, but you're also a parent, a working parent. So give us that background.
Yes. So my name is Amanda. If you've been on the podcast before, my name is Amanda Hammett. I am the founder and CEO of a company called Core Elevation. I'm actually better known as the millennial translator because I am an expert on generations in the workplace. My little boy is now as tall as I am. He is 14. He has had a major growth spurt during lockdown and quarantine. He grew 10 inches during that time.
Oh my gosh.
So he is, yes, no longer little, but he is 14, and we had a very interesting experience of quarantine as well. Today, though, my beverage of choice is a lime Perrier with lots of extra lime. So
All right.
There you go.
Great.
Yes.
Well, thanks. And you know me, I'm Jeff, and I'm actually enjoying a Sauvignon Blanc from Monterey. It's called Sunny with a Chance of Flowers. It is a no sugar Sauvignon Blanc. And so it fits in your keto diet quite nicely. And so I go out and enjoy a bottle. Something about me and this parenting panel. I have grown children, but both of my children have children of their own. And so my daughter has a 4-year-old named Harlan, and my son has a now year-old named Alexandra Cadence. And so they are both working parents. And so it's just fascinating to see what goes on today. And one of the things I want to do when we kick off this panel, realizing that this is going to be going out to a corporate audience. And in my work at Why Women, one of the things I try to do is just get senior leaders, and specifically men, to ask a simple question. What's going on that I don't understand? What's going on in your life? What's going on at work? And I guarantee you, many senior leaders do not have the exposure to the challenges and just day-to-day issues that women are facing in just their normal lives. And so I would just love you to spend a couple minutes and walk me through a day in the life from the time your feet hit the ground until you basically pass out at night and get it up and start it again. So Jessie, would you like to start?
Of course. That's a really great question to ask. Like, hey, what's going on in your day? What's happening at home? How are you doing? Simple questions really, it's really meaningful during the pandemic, and it means a lot to everyone, men and women. My day starts that I would get up super early. I'm a 6:30 in the morning person. My alarm will go off, and I will do my self-care, my meditation. I'll get up, either exercise, and then get my coffee ready. Then I'll try to work for about an hour before my kids are up and running and you can hear them throughout the house. We'll do breakfast together. I used to be able to drop them off at school. During the pandemic, they're just staying at home with mom. I'm actually fortunate I was able to work from home actually about a year before the pandemic started in March 2020. So the working from home transition for me wasn't a huge difference in terms of me working and having my own setup, my home office already. The biggest difference is, what am I going to do with the boys? Because I never had to plan their entire day. I felt a lot for our teachers, and I still don't know today how they do it because they were able to plan activities and lessons plan. So I went into mom mode of trying to manage their every hour at the beginning of the pandemic before summer, trying to do that with them and trying to like work. And then every hour, hey, you got to watch this drawing. Hey, there's this out school class. Oh, there's this like Zoom meeting with your teachers and your classmates. It was just a lot trying to balance all of that and get them ready. And my kids, they're 6 and 8. So I have to get like the computer up, making sure they know how to log on. So a lot more hands-on on the day-to-day for them. I don't have after school care anymore. I didn't feel comfortable with having the nanny there. So they're actually at home with me all day. And it's really challenging for me to be able to do my calls. I used to be able to close my door, only one at home, and do my calls. And now my kids are constantly coming in, be like, hey, mommy, can I do this? Hey, mommy, I needed help with this, and break my Legos apart. So I juggle all that during the day. I have to say I'm blessed. My mother actually lived with me and came in to help during the pandemic, and she's still here, and she'll do like the breakfast, she'll make the food, and that takes a lot of stress out of my day-to-day, not having to figure out what am I going to feed them. Boys are hungry all the time, so you gotta the steady stream of food have to be keep coming. But you know, my work doesn't really stop at 5, but I make a point to stop by 6 so that we can eat dinner. They are very scheduled person. There was like 6:30 is dinner time, you gotta come and do dinner. We'll do nighttime activities, we'll clean up, they do their bath time, and I'll watch TV or watch them play games. And then I put them to bed at 9 and read them their bedtime stories. They still enjoy that today, so I'm trying to do that. And after that, I go back downstairs to my home office and do more work because I felt really bad that I haven't been able to get through a lot. So I'll work till I'm really tired and realizing, okay, I'm staring at that email for 5 minutes. It's not going anywhere. So I'm going to go to bed, and I'll get ready for bed and try to go to bed and start my day again. So that's how my day went.
And on average, how much sleep do you get a night?
I would say less than 7 hours. So it's not the recommended number.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for that. Thank you for sharing. Smriti.
Wow. I mean, hearing Jessie speak, I'm just like, I am just the opposite, which is kind of weird to see because, and also I think hearing Jesse's speak, I just feel like there's so much in common and so much that we do differently as mothers, right? I'm also pretty fortunate. My mother lives with us. So there's that extra benefit of not having to think about food or what will the children eat. There's someone else thinking about that. So I'm able to offload that. But for the most part, it is similar to the extent that, you know, from the time you wake up, the children are always front and center of your mind. I think it's something that women tend to do a little bit more than men. I think what has been interesting for me to see during this pandemic is how gendered our roles are. It's my husband's really supportive. He's a great dad. He's a great husband. But when he goes to work, he goes to work. He's in his office at home. He's fully focused. He's in there. Whereas when I go to work, I'm constantly thinking about, did the children eat? Is there, you know, my older one was in virtual class for the whole year. She was in first grade. Is she logged in? Did she get her snack? Did she finish her homework? I think the amount of multitasking that mothers do is just, I think, just greater than the dad. This is not a knock on any father whatsoever, but I just think that during this pandemic, what I realized was how gendered our roles were. And for me personally, like looking at my day, it was, you know, very much similar to Jesse's, right? Like the kids need to be fed, they need to like finish their work, and they need to go to bed on time, which was another important thing for me. But yeah, I think it's just drawn into sharp relief the way we behave as parents, as men and women. And I think that it's it's just been interesting to see, is all I can say.
Yeah, it's interesting. I have a colleague, David Johnson, and he talks about the fact that women should go and ask their significant others for a spousal employee review around how supportive they are at home. Because what the research is showing, men are stepping up, but women are stepping up X plus plus plus. And so it presents an interesting dynamic. So I wouldn't ask you to rate your significant others, but I think for our listeners, it's kind of a fun, easy, element. Yeah. So, Amanda, all yours.
I would agree with what Smriti just said about the gendered roles. My husband is phenomenal. We have worked from home pre-pandemic, so we didn't have the issues getting set up like Jessie mentioned earlier. However, when my son was all of a sudden home from school, Dad would go into his office, but my office has been, the island or the kitchen table, or because I was usually on client sites or traveling. So, my office was more fluid. And so the constant, what am I going to eat for snack? I'm hungry. I'm hungry. Well, and I was just constantly like, okay, I've got to move out of the kitchen. We had to build out and put up barn doors in our open office or open house concept so that I could shut him out. And even that, he does not seem to understand that a closed door is there for a reason. But it was a constant. Is he logged into class? Did he get everything turned in? Did he do what he needed to do? And it was a very constant thing. Now, he did not go and ask these questions of my husband, which I found interesting. And I would ask my son, why are you coming to me? Why not your dad? Well, he's working. What am I doing? So it was a really interesting conversation to introduce to my son. And my husband actually started becoming much more aware of, hey, mom's not the only one here. Like, come to me, ask me. I make decisions here too. So it was interesting to see, for sure.
Which reminds me, Amanda, is that I was on a call with a colleague, and I had to keep ducking in and out of that call because I had to go pick up a prescription and come back. And in that moment, I was running late to a call, and I was just like, you know what? I have never, ever thought about this, but I am a working mom. I am working, plus I am a mom. Like, it's just that term, like, never resonated more strongly. Than at that moment I was like, oh my God, like I can't shut one thing off and be the other person because I have to do both at the same time,
I felt like this experience grew my to-do list exponentially.
Yeah. I
You,
could see that.
you are
Yeah.
now more worried about classes that you didn't think about
Yeah.
before. So, yeah.
So as we now go back to a new normal, and there is no more new normal, what does this look like? What does this look like for you all, for your companies? Where's this going to go?
Smriti, why don't you start?
Oh, that's, I've been thinking a lot about this. I have been fortunate in the sense that when I moved to the Raleigh area to work for my previous company, they were like, hey, can you move here to take this job? I was like, sure, we'll move. But then I immediately got put on a team that was based in Europe. And so my first team was based in Europe. My second team, my manager was in New Hampshire. So I've always had the experience of working remotely. And as I moved to this other company that I'm working for now, it's continued. My team is mostly remote. So when I see the conversation about returning to work, I think that for me personally, it doesn't make any sense because my team is remote. But it is, as I kind of think more deeply about this, it is such a complex issue for companies to deal with. Like, what is the new normal? And the fact is, there is no new normal. Like, this is normal right now. The hybrid work culture is the normal. And it's interesting to see companies saying, hey, you know what, we know you guys are all eager to get back to work, and then this is our start date, everybody come back to the office. Like, they're trying to reset the clock back to whatever pre-pandemic was. And that's not how time works, and that's not how people work. You know, people adapt, people move on, and then when you find something that works for you, people are very hesitant to let it go. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how corporations navigate this, how senior leaders really reach out to their workforce to ask them for their input on what is it that will make you productive and what is it that will help the company reach its bottom line and goals. I think senior leadership should be paying more attention to how the workforce wants to work and build in those mechanisms so that they're productive. But I have a lot of thoughts about this clearly, but it's just, I just think it's, and I cannot stress this enough, which is, I think senior leadership, or it also depends on the makeup of senior leadership, right? So if you have mostly men in your senior leadership, the view that they're going to get out of flexible workplaces or how employees should work is going to be very different from if you have women in your senior leadership and how they're going to view what women in the workforce are going through and how the hybrid, like flexible work culture is more important. So I think that there is no new normal, at least in my sense. This is the normal. This is how we need to be. And I do think that corporations have a hard task at hand, and there is no one size fits all policy that works for us as we think of returning to work. So Jessie, what do you think?
Yeah, I think you brought out a few good points there of what you're seeing in the market and what I'm seeing as well, that everyone and every company, unlike people implement strategies differently, different times, but this time around, everyone is implementing and trying to implement the same strategy. How are we returning to work and what does it mean? I think there's a new definition. What does work mean? What's working environment mean? I am pretty fortunate that UI just roll out our new way of working. We called it the UI Wow. Have an acronym for it. It's building on like kind of three guiding kind of principles or concepts. It's we thinking like where you work, the brick model, the one of the B's, and then behavior. Right, we're talking about how we historically wanting everyone to come to the office for meetings, everyone go to the client all the time, 5 days a week. Is that really the behavior we want? Like, what is this kind of collaboration or teaming that we're trying to get out of it? We'll want to return to, right? Which is collaborating, but it's not every single day in person. It's not every hour in person anymore. So how do we change that behavior a little bit? And then the last B is the bites, it's the technology. We have spent so much money on technology this past year and a half. How do we capitalize on it? Because we cannot unspend those money. So company that implemented Zoom, implemented like Microsoft Teams or whatever technology it is, it's really continue to utilize those. I would say there's really, like Smriti have mentioned, there's no one size fits all. And for me, my team, I have a huge team right now, and I have to collaborate with my client who's thinking about the same thing. Historically, my team always traveled to the client about 5 days a week, and it's an hour drive outside of Charlotte. So one way. So no one is really excited about that commute anymore, including the client. So we're really in a unique position as well, having a great opportunity to rethink how they want to work with us and how we're returning to work. So I'm in a very great position to actually help influence that process, as well as like making plans with my client on how they want to work with us, so I can come up with a plan, collaborate with them and my team, so that we have our plan that fits our team's need and our client. And it's only for our team and our client. All the teams in the US and around the globe going to be doing something different. But I think we have to not be afraid to go back to the drawing board if this is not working. And I think that's one thing. Most companies rolling out the plans, but we need to probably think about how do we put in measures along the way so that, hey, let's go back to drawing board because it's not working. Like let's go back. And also, we don't know what's going to happen in the few months. Hopefully everything that we really get past this and move on. But if we have to go back again, how do we readjust back? How do we continue to do this and keep everyone kind of mentally, I would say mentally, healthy and taking care of themselves? All those programs that we rolled out during the pandemic to support parents in general, or those caring for elderly parents or family members, like we continue to need to like expand on those, because those cares exist no matter you're working in the office or working from home. We really need those programs, and for all the working parents, so that we can feel like we can do the work at work and do contribute to work, and also not having to worry a lot about the home until we have to. So I think having that level of support will be very helpful for all working parents and company to really think about expanding that benefit.
Thanks again for joining us for Wind Down Wednesdays, a contemporary midweek discussion on current workplace and marketplace issues with a focus on diversity, inclusion, intersectionality, and equality. I'm Amanda Hammett, and on behalf of myself and Jeffery Tobias Halter, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Thank you for listening to Wind Down Wednesday with Amanda Hammett and Jeffery Tobias Halter. You can find